Rangatira o Aotearoa, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here today. I want to acknowledge the Minister, even though he's gone. It's great to have at his gravitas today's occasion. I want to acknowledge you for your leadership in this space. We'll talk about how relevant it is, but actually it's critical for all the reasons you spoke of. So I want to acknowledge your leadership. I want to thank you, Caroline, for hosting us here today. Wonderful place, and great thank you for your hospitality. And I also want to acknowledge my colleagues for what they have achieved in this really, really important space, but also for their willingness to come here and share their ideas, because it's the sharing that I think having this forum that will make us strong. Thank you for the opportunity to tell a bit of the police story. Two things. I couldn't tell it in 7 to 8 minutes, but I'm also not going to stand here and say, even though we've been acknowledged, that we've nailed it. We are very much on that journey that everyone talks about, and we've got a very, very long way to go. I do want to start with the why, and I think you may agree with me that the New Zealand Police, or in fact any police service, is the, if not, or one of the, if not the, most public-facing public sector organisations. We are there, we are in people's homes, we're on the roads, we're in your business, we're there serving you every day and every night. So the fact that we are your police service, and if I go back to Sir Robert Peel in the 1800s, who said the first principle of policing is that we are the public and the public are the police. So we must reflect the public. And again, because we're a service and not a police force, we police with the community's consent. That means we can only do it with the full trust and confidence of the public. We must reflect the community we serve. So when you, as the community, look at us, you must see you must see yourselves looking back at you. So that's why it's hugely important. We want to have your trust and confidence. We've got to look at the, and that's why we're very purposeful around our diversity. Last week I was also fortunate to be at the Champions of Change Forum, and I spoke there mostly around our diversity, our gender diversity, and what we're doing in that space. And that was about the ability to restructure the organisation so we can immediately bring in more gender diversity in every level of the organisation, especially in the executive. So again, we better represented the community, but we made better decisions. And we've also, in the last few years, been able to promote real talent in the organisation, bringing it up through the organisation. So we had much better gender equity. And we have 12 districts in our place. 3 of them are now commanded by women. 2 years ago, none. And that's a real change for us. So it's an improvement, but we've still got a wee way to go. In our recruiting, we unashamedly leverage our good news stories, better work stories. And you will have seen a TV series called Woman in Blue. Again, unashamedly, we'll work with TV companies to put that in front of the public to attract better gender diversity into the organisation, and that worked really well. Our recruiting went like that. Last year we had our first recruitment with 50% gender, and that was fantastic. We're running at about 34% now, which is so much better than it was. So we're on that journey. The same principles we apply to that, we apply to our ethnic diversity. We have real targeted recruitment. So we're actually a lot better at reflecting our community from an ethnic diversity point of view than we are otherwise. But in the saying that form follows function, we say it's really important. But in our organisation, we have someone at the Deputy Chief Executive level that represents that for us. We have a Deputy Chief Executive, Molly Homaha, who's here today, who is responsible for Māori, Pacific and ethnic services. And Wally has a team of people, some of who are here today, and you will know. Rakesh is very visible in this space. Mehdi, who's here, is a really big team. But it's not just his responsibility to drive diversity in our place. It's also everyone in the organisation. But actually, if you don't make sure that someone is responsible for it, and you say, well, everyone is, does it get done? Not necessarily. You have to have someone who owns that on behalf of the organisation. So we've invested heavily in that. And we have strategies that absolutely carry the organisation. We have, and you would have probably heard of, the turning of the tide strategy. And that is about working in partnership with iwi and others to bring better outcomes for Māori. Everyone knows the data. You'll know that 50% of the people in jail are Māori. 50% of people who get apprehended are Māori. But only 15% of this beautiful country are Māori. You have a huge overrepresentation. What you probably don't know is 50% of the people victimised in this country are Māori. So how do we fix that? Well, we certainly don't do it alone. We do it in partnership with all of you, but we do it in partnership with you. So that strategy isn't just something that hangs on a wall. It has set outcomes. We have targets, and we have action plans, and we have jobs for everyone. We also have a Pacifica strategy and an ethnic strategy, and that again is about driving better outcomes for those communities. To engage better, because it's very, very much about engagement, we have the Commissioners' forums. So I have forums which have the most senior iwi leaders on that forum, and we meet regularly. We have the same with Pacifica, and we have the same with some of our ethnic leaders, or actually most of our ethnic leaders. So we meet quarterly. And what we talk about here is, how can we, one, deliver better outcomes from our place for their communities? And the second thing is, how do we build trust and confidence? So they are very frank about how they and their communities actually see the New Zealand. So we have this very honest relationship where they bring that information to us to make us better, stronger, more responsive. And that's paying big dividends. And for the first time, we're actually bringing those 3 forums together in Auckland next month. And there's a huge appetite for all of those leaders across New Zealand to work with us to make not just their communities, but all of New Zealand a safe place. Because we understand that the reason we exist is to ensure that everyone in this beautiful country is safe and feels safe. And again, we will only do that by being hugely responsive, understanding, inclusive, and representative of all of those communities. The other thing we've done, and I enjoyed hearing from you, Caroline, about what you've done around your values. Up until a few years ago, we had professionalism, respect, integrity, and commitment to Māori and the treaty as our 4 values. But we also have an overarching operating model in New Zealand Police called Prevention First. Now, for the first time in our lives, we've put prevention at the front of our business because that's what makes us the difference. But we also put victims right at the heart of everything we do. That's centric to the way we think and the way we act. But all of our values didn't necessarily reflect what we were trying to achieve and what we were really about. So we had a look at that. How could we be more victim-centric? So we brought empathy into our values, which complemented respect, but it takes it to a new level. And the other thing we did to really drive our commitment to valuing diversity is we brought in valuing diversity into our values. So we now have 6 values, and our people role model and live that every day, led from the executive but right through the organisation. And just a small example of that, you might think we've all gone soft, but in the news in the last few days was something that the media have dubbed con air. We had a lot of returning New Zealanders who have been quite bad people in Australia who are now here. So we decided, with all of our agencies, that we have to be very professional around how we bring these people back into New Zealand and ensure the safety of others. But under Wally's leadership with his people and the local district, when they went onto that aeroplane, we met those people who were mostly Māori, all of those people, and it was a deliberate strategy, were treated with the utmost respect. They were greeted in te reo. And in fact, the staff that went on there, some of those were Wally staff, went on, and the first thing they did after welcoming them back to New Zealand was say, "A kara kia." Now, years ago, that wouldn't have happened. Now, they are New Zealanders. Yes, they've been bad people, but we respected their mana, and we behaved in a way that was really, really in line with our values. And just a small example, but it's an important shift in our place to actually do that. And actually it went down extremely well. You'll notice, because of all of the professional response by all the agencies, it went even more smoothly than it could have. Just a little what we're going to do in the future, because I better finish. May's getting up. She's going to ring the bell, bring out a shepherd's crook. And for the future, we're doing much better around our ethnic recruiting, but we can do a lot more, especially in Auckland, I think, and that's a real focus of what we do. But again, thanks for the opportunity.